The feeling is one-sided. Happy Thursday, everyone. Well, a funeral homeowner who hid a corpse in a hearse for over a year has finally entered a plea deal. In his defense, it's not the first time a corpse was found in a black limo. In a recent interview, George Clooney said there's still one prominent Democrat that's mad at him for telling Joe Biden to drop out of the election. He's not saying who it is, but they both pretended to play doctors on TV. Right now, former VP Kamala Harris is the Democrat frontrunner for the 2028 election, followed by Mayor Pete. No. But supporters say a minority woman and a gay guy may remind voters of Barack Obama's marriage. I don't get that one. The actor who played the child in The Sixth Sense, Haley Joel Osment, was arrested in Colorado for public intoxication. Wow, he's changed. I guess his sixth sense is finding Twinkies. Yeah, he no longer sees dead people. He just eats them. Kind of depressed, aren't you? Speaking of Colorado, nearly 700 women attended the Boot Tan Fest, which is an event where hundreds of women ski naked. It truly was the greatest day of my life, said one man. Finally, the colossal squid, the world's largest squid species, has been caught on video for the first time. In response, guess who just made 2,000 gallons of marinara sauce? Yeah, saw that one coming. All right, let's do a monologue. Boy, not crazy about the jokes tonight, are you? Well, screw you. Last weekend, a self-identified queer scientist was busted for bombing a Tesla dealership and the Republican Party headquarters in Albuquerque. So what's a queer scientist? It's like a regular... It's like a regular scientist, but has sex. But did you notice something that's comically sad? Every person who attacks Tesla has been arrested because the cars have cameras. That's why when I walk past one, I make sure to flex my butt. True, these idiots have been caught more times on camera than my house guests when they use the bathroom. But you think the Dems, having seen that repeated outcome, might have stopped egging their constituents on a crusade of vandalism and violence? You think maybe they should have considered what happens to people who don't have the expensive lawyers like they do after they follow their advice? Each vandalized Tesla dashes another confused man's dream of one day moving out of a Newark airport's men's room. Now, not one single Dem who called Musk Hitler to galvanize the mob has spoken out on behalf of those arrested. They led these lemmings off the cliff and then pretend they didn't exist. They're just useful idiots, like the children that work in my handbag factory. It's the tiny hands that make this stitching. It's a reoccurring trap. The Dems create a fiction, say it's true even though they know it's not. They let the mob do their job, then they cut them loose like their name was Chris Wallace. The latest fiction, the Maryland Dad. But the Dems even suckered themselves on this. Do you think Van Hollen would have flown to El Salvador had he known he was rescuing an abuser with a history of violence? Well, maybe. I mean, he did vote against the Lake and Riley Act. But now he flew thousands of miles to save a dirtbag. If their security did a cavity search, they'd find his head. Thank you. Good butt joke. But my guess is he figured this virtue signal would put him on the media's map, so he booked a flight. Mid-air, the news breaks, and suddenly he's in a trap of his party's making. Can't you just see him after he saw the news on his phone, bawling his eyes out and banging on the cockpit door? Please, you got to turn this thing around. I left my wallet in the at Dulles. Or Dulles. Dulles. So just like a dumb keying a car, he looks like a fool. And what's next for him? Well, what's next for those students caught on video tearing down hostage posters, screaming on behalf of Hamas? Good luck getting a job, besides a primetime slot on MSNBC. Or what of the activists arrested for blocking traffic or trashing art museums? Their future is as bright as Stevie Wonder's career as an NHL goalie. No, it's because he's black.
Now, see, I didn't see that coming.
So once these misguided dopes are led to this place, who leads them out? No one. They were used. A means to an end, like when I dated a Kardashian. And how many libs were told Trump was Hitler, Musk imitated a Nazi, or that Doge was stealing their benefits, and then sent death threats that got him picked up? The list goes on. But all of these narratives they use have one thing in common. Each one is the new thing, not the real thing. It's the novelty of a new lie to replace the debunked old one. After their previous hoax gets fact-checked, they move to the next one before you can figure out that you were bamboozled in the first place. It's how we ended up getting something like Queers for Palestine, which is as absurd as boners for Rosie O'Donnell. Rather than focusing on real solutions to real problems, the left creates lies to sway public opinion. And some indeed get swayed, enough to shoot a president, trash your car, defend violent gang members from other countries. The Dems act as the marionette, riling constituents into a frenzy against the evil they were told existed. They've set these traps for years, entangling the vulnerable into a web of deceit. But their reign of lies will come to an end once voters realize they're being led down the path towards their own self-destruction, fighting a mirage that wasn't there. And left among the rubble, a fool like Van Hollen, trying to book a flight back from El Salvador with nothing in his hand but his own dick. And a tiny bag of peanuts. Let's welcome tonight's guest. You can catch him at Fox and Friends in the morning and My Place later. Co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend, Charlie Hurt. His brain is so powerful, look what it did to his hair. Author and the host of the James L. Toucher Show, James L. Toucher. Yay. She likes to read eye charts at the beach. Host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. And like a dish of butterscotch candy, old ladies prefer him hard. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former deputy Tyrus. Charlie, how do you think Van Hollen is feeling right now? Going to El Salvador, thinking he's rescuing the most vulnerable of people. And it turns out the guy's a skell, you know?
I think it's a totally open question. I don't know that he would have done it differently because, we're so far down the tracks from, beyond where Democrats actually stood for anything. They're just trying to perform for the craziest people in their party. And so they think that this is perfectly fine. From Trump's standpoint, this is like the greatest political jujitsu there is. If you can get your opponents to defend the literally indefensible, then you win. And that's what he's managed to do here. And this, the whole thing began with the Dreamers. The Dreamers were children of illegals who came here, who were brought here, without their knowledge as children. And now we've gone from Dreamers, people that everybody sort of empathized with, all the way to literally a gangbanger.
People do that a lot. They get banger or member. They never know which way to go.
Part of MSW
banger, you should get the member.
And then it turns out he's also a wife beater.
Yes.
And that's who the these are the new Dreamers.
Yes, they keep moving the goalposts. James, welcome back to the show. It's been a long time.
Thanks for having me back. Yeah.
Charlie kind of hints at this, that because they think Trump is so evil, they're willing to side with just about any crazy idea.
I mean, imagine if Trump's announced, hey, look, we've got this cure for cancer. I even have this cure for cancer. They're just going to start firebombing cancer clinics. Like, they're not holding back. But I think we're almost too hard on this senator. I think he legitimately, as a little boy, he dreamt one day he was going to go to El Salvador and try to take a legal citizen there, sneak him into the U.S. to beat up his wife and kill people, join gangs. Gangs are just friendly clubs, right?
They are.
So look, I think a lot of these people think they're doing the right thing, bombing Teslas, rescuing gang members, and it's just that's the delusion. They've been fed. There's two types of Democrats right now. There's the elites that are figuring out what everybody should say, and that's all the people that are then saying and repeating this nonsense while the actual work's getting done because they don't have anything to stand on. There's no actual work that they're doing. What does a senator do right now? What does a congressman do right now? They just have to go on these shows and, I'm going to go to El Salvador and take all their citizens and bring them here to blow up Tesla dealerships and cancer hospitals. So it doesn't make any sense.
That's the next step. I never liked those cancer hospitals, Kennedy.
Yeah.
I kid. I'm a very proud supporter of cancer hospitals and Kennedy.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, I didn't want to get any hateful letters.
From the pro-Kennedy, anti-cancer people.
Exactly.
There's more of them than Elon Musk's babies.
Yes, that is true. Shouldn't the left somehow be waking up to these absurd crusades that never turn out to be true?
No, and there's a way of doing it. There's a way of going, which they should have done with George Floyd. They should have gone, this guy was a dirtbag, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a horrible person. We don't condone what he does, but this is not how things should work in the United States. There's a way of doing that, but they can't because they fall into the State of the Union trap, which President Trump realized worked so well, even though it wasn't technically a State of the Union speech, but the joint session of Congress where he's like, and here's this grieving mother whose daughter was killed, and, she bravely had a hippopotamus named for her daughter because she loved animals, and everyone else is standing up and wiping tears in their eyes, and Democrats are like, no, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even feel bad for her.
Yeah.
And that's so he's figured out a way to do that with essentially every issue and force Democrats to back themselves into a corner. And I look at the senator and I'm like, where were you when you heard there were 250,000 kids who came into this country illegally with coyotes and were either human trafficked or completely lost?
Yes.
Like, where are your flights for them? Why aren't you combing the deserts?
By the way, did we pay for this?
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, I can't believe, I don't think Van Hollen paid for this out of his own pocket.
Well, he's compromised now.
Yeah.
And I think he was compromised before. I still look at this whole thing from the 4 years of lawlessness that we had in the White House. Joe Biden was not president. He was not present. There was somebody in groups that were making decisions and pardons and monies, and they were doing all this stuff. And now the worst thing happened. President Trump got in, and I think in his wisdom, the Doge idea was to flush them out. So the more that they keep investigating, because eventually they're going to find out who was making decisions, who was authorizing money, who was sending $10 billion to trans hamster karate studies. No, I'm making that up, but it's probably in there. And so they're gonna continue, because how do you cover up lies with other lies? So they're gonna continue to try to fog the water. They're gonna keep doing things to try to go, why are they always on the wrong side of everything? Because they're on the wrong side to begin with. So he's going there because he was probably told he needs to go there. We need to start looking at this for we make jokes and we laugh about 4 years. We had no president. We still don't know who was making decisions in this country. And for 4 years was fleeced. And now the Doge is uncovering all this spending and all the corruption goes somewhere. So everyone who's involved is the ones who are flailing and doing these crazy things that we don't understand because they're compromised.
Wait, are you saying that black belt I got at the trans karate?
Sir, with all due respect, I don't think you can get a yellow belt.
What's a pink belt?
If they had one, he'd get it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.